I don't know that it's even on that document.
It for sure is, and I was like, I'm just going to call it the nerve.
It's the trigeminal nerve.
That's the one.
Yeah, nailed it.
Great. Kevin.
I can just read somewhat faster than you.
Do you want to ask me
no.
hearing aid battery sizes now?
Okay, everybody knows that Dr. Ali knows about ears. Obviously, I am proficient in the trigeminal nerve.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Ask an Audiologist podcast, real audiology white papers written by real audiologists and explained to you by a real audiologist and a guy who isn't. Now here are your hosts, Dr. Ali Tressiter and Kevin Ziener.
If you're listening to this, that means it's Monday and we have a brand new episode of Ask an Audiologist for you. I'm Kevin Ziener.
I'm Dr. Ali Tressiter.
And today we are going to be talking to you about an article written by Dr. Paula Rivers from RK Audiology all the way down in Austin, Texas. This article has to do with an exciting new tinnitus treatment using a product called Lenire. Lenire, spelled Lenire, pronounced Lenire. Now, let me mention this right off the bat. We have no affiliation with Lenire. We are not sponsored by them. They do not pay us any money.
But hey, hit us up if they want to.
But the door's wide open for Lenire and really anybody else to sponsor this, to partner with us, to just give us gobs of money, and we will talk about everything. Absolutely everything. But until then, understand that what Dr. Ali says and what I say have no affiliation with anybody from Lenire. This is simply a topic that was written on that we are now going to discuss. Fair?
Fair.
I think legally we are now safe.
Excellent.
All right. So Dr. Ali, this is still new to you. This is like very cutting edge technology. It is accessible in practices all across the country, but in preparation for this episode, you were still reading up on everything. So
for sure.
So Dr. Ali, in fact, for the first time ever on this podcast, has notes in front of her.
I do.
To help her get through this article because she was so excited that she wanted to talk about it. But then she looked at me earlier and she said, I don't necessarily know everything about it. I said, don't worry. When has that ever stopped us before?
You know what? That's a really good point. Mm-hmm. And it's just so exciting and so new that I want to talk about it as quickly as possible, which is why there's no shame in me looking at my notes.
And then once Lenire comes back and sponsors an episode, we'll have sat down with everybody from Lenire. We'll have a far better understanding of it.
Sure.
We'll have gone through all the cool technology ourselves, and we can speak firsthand about Ask an Audiologist powered by Lenire.
Yes, and that sounds good.
Yeah, I'm telling you. we need Daniel, who cuts this, to send it off to Lenire to be as a spec of like, this could be you. Well, now prove to everybody you know what you're talking about with your notes there. Ali, what is Lenire and how can it help tinnitus?
Lenire, so I believe it's out of Ireland.
That sounds right. It has like a Gaelic quality to it. Lenire.
Let me check. I was right.
Yeah.
It's Irish.
Irish. It's Lenire.
So it's been in Europe for about a year, but it just got FDA approval like in the last couple weeks.
Wow.
Which, as you know, to get FDA approval, they need multiple studies showing benefit and no harm to the patient, right?
Nice.
And so what this technology does, it's kind of two pieces, which, hang on with me here.
Yeah.
You've got a piece that goes in your mouth.
Okay.
That stimulates your tongue.
Okay.
So there's a nerve in your mouth that is connected to your auditory system.
What's that nerve called? Oh, sorry. I put her on spotlight right now.
You brat.
I don't know that it's even on that document.
It for sure is. And I was like, I'm just going to call it the nerve.
It's the trigeminal nerve.
That's the one.
Yeah, nailed it.
Great. Kevin.
I can just read somewhat faster than you.
Do you want to ask me hearing aid battery sizes now?
Okay, everybody knows that Dr. Ali knows about ears. Obviously, I am proficient in the trigeminal nerve.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, that is your forte. Mm-hmm. So that is the nerve. It's linked to your auditory system. And so this piece that goes in your mouth, you hold it in your mouth and it stimulates that nerve while you are also listening to sounds. These sounds are specific really to you and your tinnitus, right? Your tinnitus profile, call it. And so you have to listen to these sounds while the nerve is stimulated in your mouth at the same time.
So is it like a little kind of like shocking pulse or like a little vibration? I know you don't know this. I don't know why I'm asking.
That's a great question. So my guess is it's probably something very minimal. Okay. It's not a shock. I mean, that would be like cruel. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that would get past the
maybe
FDA.
Like a little vibration or something like that.
Something like that. So I'm not actually sure what it feels like, but I imagine it's pretty minimal.
Got it.
But
it's not some like 1950s,
oh no,
curing mental illness device or anything.
No,
like that.
we're not.
Got it.
There's no lobotomies. Yeah. There's no.
You leave the practice the same person.
Yes, but hopefully with a little less tinnitus.
Less tinnitus.
So it's one of those things that it's not necessarily a cure.
Okay.
It's just another tool in our toolbox that we're finding is really helping. And so they've done multiple studies. One of their studies actually showed, I think they had 300 some participants. So it's actually a pretty good sample size, showed that after treatment and Lenire, it requires multiple treatments over time. So it's not a one and done fix it. But after the span of treatments, 86% of patients said that they felt an improvement in their tinnitus.
Holy smokes.
Huge, right? And then they went back to those patients 12 months later, and still 80% still said that they perceived a benefit 12 months on.
Wow.
So that's huge,
That's
right?
incredible.
That's huge.
Especially for something that's not invasive.
Exactly. And I mean, that's really one of the benefits is it's not invasive. You're not taking a pill. There's nothing, systemic about it. It's localized and it's all, in your auditory system. So again, like my knowledge is definitely surface level.
Sure.
I've done research and will continue to read this furiously because this is awesome. I mean, just a couple podcasts ago, we were talking about how limited the treatment options are for tinnitus. Yeah. I mean, how great to have another tool.
No, it's incredible because, I've talked about my experience with tinnitus. Mine is, pales in comparison to people who suffer with it, day in and day out. But it also kind of, and I read this too because it feels rare in audiology where we find something like new and groundbreaking.
Right.
So when this came to light, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to brush up on this. But it uses something that I imagine has been around for a while, but like sound therapy. And so what educate us, what is sound therapy? But, and I know you don't know specifically how Lenire uses it, but like what would sound therapy have been prior to Lenire?
Sure. Well, if we're talking in just specifically to tinnitus, what that would be is something really, it could be as basic as a white noise.
Got it.
It is introducing an external sound stimulus that essentially lessens the impact of your tinnitus, right? So it makes it a little bit quieter, gives you something else to concentrate on. And the whole goal is to essentially decrease your stress response to tinnitus. And so sound therapy could be that. It could be listening to ocean waves. It could be, I don't know, whatever. Like I like to listen to a campfire, which some people find horrific.
Like if you have one of those sound machines where it's, crashing waves, or if it's rain on a tin roof, or if it's like white noise, brown noise, pink noise, blue noise, all that kind of, so that's sound therapy. It's kind of canceling out whatever tinnitus is happening in your head somewhat.
Kind of, yeah. And I mean, there are sound therapies for all sorts of things. Like, have you ever heard of binaural beats?
No, what's that?
So you have to have headphones on, so you can't listen to it in the sound field. And so what happens is it'll play one particular frequency in one ear and one particular frequency in the other. And what happens is these frequencies are very close to each other. And so they create essentially these nodes, right? And then these modulations in the amplitude. So you hear kind of like a boom, 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 right?
Weird.
And so what I've read about it is that, because I never saw the benefit, but I never really gave it
I feel like it would mess me up. Like I know that's supposed to be helping me, but I feel like two distorted things would just make me like want to pass out.
So they don't feel like when you're listening to it. So listen to it when we're done with this.
Okay.
It doesn't feel distorted. It just feels, I don't know. It's not bothersome.
Okay.
But it's actually, there's a lot of studies showing how much it helps concentration and sleep.
Okay.
But sound therapy can come in a number of different ways. I mean, sound therapy could be just me listening to music I like that makes me feel more calm or relaxed.
Can sound therapy be me just screaming into the abyss?
Does that bring some sort of emotional response to you that you like?
It might, but then it might actually then bring on tinnitus. You know what I'm saying?
So you got to do a cost-benefit analysis on that.
Fair enough.
For sure.
So the only, I don't actually see any drawbacks with Lenire, right? The thing with Lenire is it's like so new. It's not really accessible anywhere.
Right.
It's so new that insurance doesn't really cover it.
Exactly.
And it is not a one and done, right? It is multiple treatments over 3 or 4 months.
I don't anticipate this being something covered by insurance for a long time.
Sure.
I mean, it was just FDA approved, and right now it's hard enough to get, even the tools we already have to treat tinnitus, it's hard enough to get those covered by insurances, let alone this. But who knows? This could be more. There could be more evidence where insurance companies would say like, "Hey, we support this." But I think it's going to be a while, and I also think it's going to be a while until we see this really mainstream. Sure. Until it's in the clinic down the road that you can go to, or the audiologist that you already see, because typically the company will partner with particular practices to introduce it into their clinics and kind of get case studies there. So I have a feeling it's slow moving, but hey, we're past the FDA approval piece, which is huge. And I'm just super excited about this.
I can tell. I'm excited too.
I'm jazzed.
And I have no effect on it whatsoever. I'm just happy to have a different subject on this.
I didn't even, the only thing I read my notes for was to remember if it was an Irish company.
Yeah. And here it is. And it was. Well, thank you to Dr. Paula for this amazing article. And if you find yourself in need of the latest and greatest news from Lenire, or you simply want some more information on your own hearing loss, head on over to askanaudiologist.com. Dr. Al, you did great. You didn't even need your notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kev.
We'll see you guys next week.
You can find more information at askanaudiologist.com. And you can follow us on all our social channels at Ask an Audiologist. The information provided on this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not substitute for professional medical advice.